Hey, so I've been asked to give you guys a view of the gear that I use when I go shoot arrows, and I thought that was actually a pretty cool idea because it gives me a chance to show you my gear as well as some of the nifty features of it, because it's not your typical bow, as well as just to show you that it's not that much to go out and enjoy archery. So if you do decide that this is what you want to do, you can see that the initial investment is not all that much. I mean, it does take a little bit of money, but it's not going to break your bank to do this. So why don't we get started, and I will show you each piece individually, and then I will show you the process for how it comes together and how it works. So this here is all of the stuff that I use when I go shoot arrows with my gear. The front part here is the bow. Now you're asking yourself, oh, that's not a bow. It looks like a couple pieces of wood. Well, that's the nifty thing about this type of bow. It's called a takedown. This is a recurve takedown bow. Basically what that means is they can be disassembled for easy carrying and storage. But once it's reassembled, it functions just like a normal bow. It has the same strength and the same tension, the whole 9 yards. This here is a combination of two things, which I will show you now. We've got my arm guard. This is a specifically for anybody who is firing recurves. Compounds are a little bit less necessary for this, but this goes on your forearm for the purpose of preventing the bowstring from causing bruising and bleeding and whatever else. Because when that string comes back, it can snap down your arm as it launches the arrow, leaving quite a mess behind. Let me see if I can show you guys my bruise if it's still there. It might have cleared up here, so let's see. Yeah, you can see right there, it's still a little bruised, but the bowstring would come all the way down, and it would mark you. So that's the whole purpose for that piece, specifically just to prevent that kind of thing. The next piece, this here, is my quiver. Now, it doesn't look like a normal quiver, the thing that you're used to seeing with Robin Hood on his back and whatnot, but it is. These are the slots that the arrows go in, plus it's got some nifty pockets and whatnot. When I wear this on my hip, you'll see that it leans forward like this, so the arrows are actually on an angle. I usually wear it on my right hip, so it'll look something like this while it's hanging on my hip. Very useful, very, very useful. Also, really light too. It doesn't weigh very much. And finally, this weird tube. This is an arrow container. Basically, this allows me to carry my arrows in one area without having them be clumsy. I don't have to keep them in I don't have to keep them in the quiver, and it keeps them safe when I'm traveling. So if I bump around or whatnot, the arrows themselves will not get damaged. So here, let me show you. This particular tube, when opened, contains my arrows. Here they are. You can see there's the entire length of the arrow. And you've got the fletchings, which are black and white. And you can see there's three fletchings, two of which have the same color, and then one which doesn't, as well as the knock, which is this part here. The reason why you have these three feathers is because this helps you identify how the arrow sits on the string. You want to have it so that the odd-colored feather is facing away from the actual bow itself. It's facing outward. That way, when it knocks, these two are flat against the bow, so that when it rides through, it doesn't catch anything and it lets the arrow fly cleanly. So I've got about, you can see in here, I got about 6 arrows. I only use 5 at a time because my quiver only has about 5. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause the video for just a second so that I can get everything set up, and then I will show you the process for assembling the bow. So hold on one sec. Okay, so now I'm going to show you basically the assembly for the bow. You've got the grip, the arms, and then these pieces here. This is the string that basically makes it a bow. It is basically just these are not natural fibers. This is artificial fiber. And here you've got the nocks, or the location for the knock of the arrow. It fits right between those 2 points, so that when you set up the arrow, you knock it here, and then it's facing this way, which is the bow itself. So actually it would be more like this, so it's facing that way. And then over here, this funky pile of string is known as a bow stringer. Now you can see it's got 2 distinct parts. It's got this little rubber stopper, and it's got this sleeve here. So when I put the bow together, I will demonstrate exactly how that works. It will take a funky setup for the camera so you can get a full view, but overall, this is the bow itself. So let me go ahead and set the camera down so that you can get an idea of how this is going to look. So, let me show you specifically. You see these knobs here. This is how the arms connect to the handle. I'm not using the correct terminology for this, but that's simply because I'm just not that disciplined at all. However, I will show you how it works. So, you can tell which way's up specifically by the arrow level. This is where the arrow sits when you're getting ready to fire. The head of the arrow sits here so that when you pull back, it has a direct launching area. This is called a ledge. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically just put the bow together to show you what it looks like pre-strung. Like I said, this is how you know which way's up and which way's down. Plus, the grip. The grip will let you know, since it's a right-handed bow, the left hand hits there, and it's got a formed grip, so you can see that it's easy to determine. If you're not sure, you can just pick it up. You know, it doesn't feel too bad in the left hand, but it's obviously, it doesn't feel as natural because you got that ledge there. Okay, so the process for assembling the bow is simple. You just undo these knobs so that you free up the space. Now, it's going to be a little counterintuitive, the way that it looks. And the very first time I assembled it, I was completely confused because of the fact that I was under the impression it was supposed to look one way when it wasn't. So it's just literally just a screw and the set. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the top arm, which is right here, and this particular bow, can you see that, is a matrix. This one is called a Ragim Matrix, R-A-G-I-M Matrix. So now, when you see this, when you see the way that it's curved, you would think that it's supposed to be curved back towards you, right? Because that was what a bow usually looks like. It's got the sort of a D shape. It's got the arc. But actually, that's not correct. You want to put these arms, to slide them in, so that the curve actually bends forward. So you'll see, there's the curve, and then as we go down, you will see, there it is. So you see how it's bending forward rather than backwards? It's kind of weird, but that's exactly how it... Okay, let's try that again. So, for some reason it felt like stopping. So, okay, so what I'm basically doing is I'm taking the bow, let me show you here, and you see this little knob here? It fits into this slot here. This is a hole for the screw to go through. And this is how it maintains or it anchors itself. So what I need to do is I need to get the arm so that it slides in there, and then once I push it down, I have to make it so that the arrow arm is flush, or excuse me, the bow arm is flush. Once that's done, simply just screw it into place. Now once this is screwed in, you don't have to crank it down, you just have to make sure that it's tight so that it doesn't move. So you can see, here you go, now it's totally set, it's not going anywhere, and now I'm just going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm just going to unscrew it, and then we're going to put the arm in the same way. Now it's important that you put in the arms in the correct position, because otherwise, I mean, technically they're both the same, but it's not good for the bow overall if you put one in the other. And I've already done that once, so I've learned my lesson. The bow itself gives you the information about the bow. If you look here, you'll see that it's the name. It's made in Italy, and it gives you specific information about it, which I will explain. So this is a 28-inch draw, which means that from the point of the bow back, it has a distance of 28 inches. It has a 29-pound pull. It means that the strength of the string is a 29-pound, and it's a 68-inch bow. 68 inches is from knock to knock, and on these, this is the knock where the string connects. So once the bow is assembled from knock to knock, it is 68 inches. Now down here is that if you go beyond 28, you can get it up to 32-pound pull, and because it's bending, it goes down to 64. So you can see there's about a 4-inch give that you can give this bow will bend before it has problems, increasing the amount of poundage and decreasing the size of the bow, because as the bow contracts to the pull, it gets smaller. So now, I'm just going to put this on here real quick, just like we did the other one. Snap it into place, and make sure everything is there. Alright, and now, simply just screw it in. And we have, for all intents and purposes, mostly a completed bow, which I don't know if you'll be able to see or not. Alright, so here we go. We've got the bottom coming down. Excuse me, we've got the top. And let me turn it over. And and we've got the bottom. So there we go. Now this bow is ready to be strung. And I will show you how wacky the stringing process is, because it's actually an odd thing. So let me pause this for a second so I can get set up, and then we'll show you. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my fully assembled bow here, and I'm going to string it to get prepared. So what I need to do is, the first thing I need to do is identify on the string which way's up. Now, I happen to know that the easiest way to determine that is simply just take a look at the knock points. The knock points will basically tell you which way is up and down. This part, the shorter part, goes towards the top because this needs to be closer to the ledge than the bottom. Because if it was hanging upside down, it would be farther away. So, what we want to do is we want to get this string ready. Now, obviously, because of the length of the bow, it's not possible to get this string on both ends. That's what the stringer is for. So what I need to do is get this string on a specific way so that when I use the bow stringer, it'll allow me to fully put the string on the bow. So what I do is I take the top loop, pull this down here, I take the top loop and I put it on and over the knock, and I pull it down slightly. So you can see I have it resting right on the ledge, but further down, giving me about this much space between the top and the bottom, which will allow me to loop the bottom part of the string. So we pull it down, not too far, just far enough so that you have some extra slack, and then you do the same thing on the other side. You just loop it over the knock. Now you don't want to do that on the bottom. The bottom will always be the smaller loop. You just want to get it locked in, and you want to make sure that the string itself is sitting on that ledge. You see that ledge in the middle? That's where you basically want it to rest, because when you finally get done stringing it, it needs to be snapped into that. Okay, so now we've got the bottom there, and we've got the top here. Now, this is where that weird stringy tool comes into play. The bow stringer allows you to, simply by using your foot, get your string on the bow. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the little rubber stopper, and you're going to put it so that the loop goes over the top as well as over the string, and you're going to place it, and it'll stay, but you just place it like right about there. You just want to be as close to it as possible. But before, you want to pull it down slightly so that you can get the other side on, because it only has a certain amount of distance. But once you have the other side on, then you're going to get it as close to the string as possible. So we take the boot here, and we put it on the other side of the bow. So now, if you look, you will see that I've got that rubber stopper on one and the boot on the other. So you notice it creates a loop, that string loop. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to string the bow by moving the rubber stopper close to the string that's on the loop, and we're going to hold it there with one hand. We're going to make sure that that stays there. Now, what we want to do is we want to reach down with our feet, and we want to step on that string, not the string of the bow, the string of the bow stringer. And we're going to lift up. When we do that, it causes the bow to bend. Let me show you. This, when we pull up, you can see how it causes the bow to bend. That gives me the freedom to move the string and anchor it on the bow. Then I can let the bow down, the string will snap into place, and we can take off the bow stringer. With the bow stringer off, you will see we now have a fully strung bow. Here's the string. You can see the string for the bow is in the groove on both sides. Side one and side two. And if you look, you'll see that the string loops are correctly on the knock. When doing a stringer, when you're using a stringer, you want to make sure that the side that you're pushing down on, that side fits on the knock cleanly. If you let go with it only slightly being on there, it's going to snap off. You're going to have some serious problems. So make sure when you're stringing your bow that everything is where it's supposed to be. So now, there we go. We've got a fully set up bow that's ready to fire. And just a quick draw to show you. Now here's the thing about string bow. You're going to want to play with the thing. It's important to know that you never dry fire a bow. It's bad for the bow. If you're going to test the strength, go ahead and pull the string back, but then slowly put it back into place. Don't let go. If you let go, you risk damaging the bow. So there you go. That was Assembly 101 for my bow, my Raygem Matrix. I will have another video like this in probably 4 days, because I want to show you, yes, I did get a new bow for Christmas. I bought it. It's one of the. It's a Martin. It's a Martin Jaguar. It's another compound bow that breaks down, but it has a completely different design. This one's wood. The stock is wood, and on the other one, the stock is aluminum, I believe. And it also is a breakdown, although it doesn't have these nifty bolts. You actually have to use an Allen wrench to loosen the arms, but still, same as it's supposed to be. There's the bow. So there you go. That is a fully assembled bow that I wanted to share with you. I'm getting my stomach in there. You'd think I lost weight, but it sure as hell doesn't look like it, does it? Anyway, so there you go. That is my bow. That is me giving you a quick and dirty demonstration of assembling the bow and stringing it. I hope you enjoyed it, and that's it. All right.